Les Brown was labeled educably mentally retarded by his school teachers. Today, his voice has touched millions around the world. How does that happen? How does someone rise from being told they'd never amount to anything to becoming one of the most powerful speakers in human development? Here's a harder question. What if your story hasn't started because you've been playing too small? The truth is, the cost of playing small is invisible, but it's not cheap. It slowly drains your joy. It hides your potential. It makes you shrink, doubt, postpone. Not because you're weak, but because somewhere along the way, you bought into the lie that it's safer to dim your light than to let it shine. There's a line by Thoreau that says, "The mass of men lead lives of quiet desperation." That desperation, it's not always loud. It hides behind polite smiles, postponed dreams. Maybe next year. It sounds like, "I'm fine," when you're not. It feels like scrolling for hours, chasing distractions, while your purpose fades silently in the background. But let me ask you something. What if your greatest fear isn't failure, but the power you know lives inside you? Tony Robbins says, "The only thing that's keeping you from getting what you want is the story you keep telling yourself." And Napoleon Hill taught us that whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. This video isn't just about motivation. It's about waking something up. Because you were born for more. You were built for purpose. And the world needs the version of you that refuses to shrink. This is your call. This is your moment. Let's begin. Let's get real. Most people don't fail because they're weak. They fail because they believe the lie that they're not meant for more. That they're ordinary. That playing it safe is the smartest move. That comfort is better than greatness. But here's the hidden truth. Playing small hurts. It creates silent suffering. What Viktor Frankl, Holocaust survivor and brilliant psychiatrist, described as the void of meaning. In Auschwitz, he watched people die not only from starvation, but from hopelessness. What kept him alive? Purpose. A why. He wrote, "Those who have a why to live can bear with almost any how. We all carry invisible scripts in our minds." Maybe yours says, "You're not smart enough. You'll fail like last time. Better not to try at all." That's what psychologist Carol Dweck discovered. She spent her life studying why some kids avoid challenges while others chase them. What she found: a fixed mindset traps you in fear. A growth mindset sets you free. You're not stuck. You've just been told you are. Tony Robbins puts it clearly. Your destiny is shaped in your moments of decision, yet most people never decide because fear freezes them. But Napoleon Hill cuts through that fog. Fears are nothing more than a state of mind. Let that sink in. The only thing standing between you and your next level might be a thought you've repeated so often, you think it's truth. And what about Les Brown? He was told by a teacher he was educably mentally retarded. Imagine hearing that as a child. But he didn't let that define him. He found his voice, his fire, and eventually his greatness. He said, "Shoot for the moon. Even if you miss, you'll land among the stars." Look at J.K. Rowling, rejected by 12 publishers, on welfare, raising a child alone. She believed in her story when no one else would. That belief created a world that would touch millions. Now, let's talk about Rocky. Sylvester Stallone was broke, rejected, and even had to sell his dog to buy food. But he held on to a script he wrote about a nobody who refused to stay down. He said no to big money offers that wanted someone else to play Rocky. He believed that no one could bring that heart to the screen but him. That belief changed his life, and the lives of millions who found themselves in that underdog fighter. Then there's Bob Proctor. In his early life, he was drowning in debt with no direction. One day, he stumbled across Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. He didn't just read it, he devoured it, applied it, and built a life of abundance, becoming one of the most influential voices in personal development. So ask yourself, what truths have you accepted that are quietly killing your dreams? What story do you keep telling yourself to justify staying small? Muhammad Ali once said, "He who is not courageous enough to take risks will accomplish nothing in life." This chapter is about seeing the tragedy not in failure, but in never trying. In staying stuck in cycles you didn't choose, but never challenged. So maybe the better question isn't, what if I fail? Maybe the better question is, what if this isn't where your story ends? Every one of us has a giant inside. But that giant doesn't wake up just because we want it to. It wakes up when we decide that playing small is no longer an option. Tony Robbins says, "Clarity is power." That's not just a quote. It's a strategy. Most people drift through life unclear on what they truly want, so they settle. But when you really decide, everything changes. Napoleon Hill wrote, "Definiteness of purpose is the starting point of all achievement, not talent, not luck, purpose." You can't wait until fear disappears. You have to act while it's still there. David Goggins is living proof. As a kid, he was abused, overweight, and struggled in school. He could have given up, but he made a decision to confront his pain and use it as fuel. That decision led him to become a Navy SEAL, ultra-endurance athlete, and author of Can't Hurt Me. He didn't do it because he had no fear. He did it because he finally got tired of being controlled by it. That moment of choice, it's the real start of every comeback story. Just ask Jay Shetty. He left a corporate path to live as a monk in India. He exchanged luxury for silence. And in that silence, he found clarity. Today, he's one of the most respected voices in personal growth, not because he followed the crowd, but because he dared to follow his inner voice. Jay says, "Your silence knows more than your mind." That's not poetry. That's purpose. But let's be honest, clarity isn't enough. You need consistency. Zig Ziglar, once a rejected cookware salesman, didn't become a legend by chance. He practiced, studied, failed, and repeated. He said, "Repetition of affirmation leads to belief." Once that belief becomes a deep conviction, things begin to happen. Faith isn't about seeing the path, it's about taking the first step without seeing the whole staircase. And then there's Arnold Schwarzenegger. Immigrant, outsider, misfit. He had every reason to play small, but he visualized who he could become before anyone else saw it. He trained like he already was the best. He moved to the US with broken English and unshakable belief. When people laughed at his accent or his dreams of being a movie star, he trained harder. Dreamed bigger. That silence, that grind, that was the moment before everything changed. Imagine standing alone, misunderstood, but with fire in your chest. That's not loneliness. That's the price of becoming something more. So let's pause for a second. What part of your life is waiting for a non-negotiable decision? Not maybe someday, not I'll try, but now. Because motivation fades. Doubt creeps in. Life gets loud. That's why Denzel Washington says, "You will never always be motivated. So you must be disciplined." This isn't about hype. It's about becoming dangerous to your excuses. It's about reclaiming your power, not someday, but today. The moment you decide to stop shrinking is the moment the giant wakes up. Comebacks aren't clean. They're messy, painful, and often invisible to the world. But inside that mess, something beautiful begins. Rebirth. Tony Robbins says, "Life doesn't happen to you. It happens for you." That might sound cliche until life breaks you. Until the plans you made fall apart. That's when you realize pain isn't punishment, it's preparation. Napoleon Hill wrote, "Every adversity, every failure, every heartache carries with it the seed of an equal or greater benefit." It's not about escaping failure. It's about using it. Turning setbacks into setups. Turning breakdowns into breakthroughs. Ask Eric Thomas. He was homeless. Slept in abandoned buildings. But he chose to fight, to show up, to read when he didn't feel like it. Today, he's a global mentor with a PhD and a voice that commands stadiums. Why? Because he made a decision his past wouldn't define his future. That's what real resilience looks like. Look at Howard Schultz, the visionary behind Starbucks. He grew up in a Brooklyn housing project. No connections. No advantages. But he watched his father suffer from medical bills after an accident and promised himself, "One day, I'll build a company where people are treated with dignity." That pain became his mission. Starbucks was born from that promise. The comeback always begins when you choose to see pain as fuel. Joe Dispenza took a different route. After a cycling accident left him with multiple spinal fractures, he was told he might never walk again. But instead of surgery, he chose to heal through his mind, visualizing every vertebrae realigning, every nerve firing. Months later, he walked out of that hospital and later became one of the world's leading voices in mind-body science. Here's where science meets soul. Brendan Burchard nearly lost his life in a car accident at 19. In that moment, as glass flew and metal twisted, he asked himself, "Did I live? Did I love? Did I matter?" That became his compass. Today, he teaches millions how to lead with clarity, energy, and purpose. As he says, you don't have to know the entire path. You just need enough courage to take the next step. Dr. Joe Dispenza explains why this works. When you change your thoughts, you change your brain. And when you repeat new beliefs with emotion, the brain literally rewires. That's not magic. It's neuroplasticity. It's science backing your soul. Serena Williams had every excuse to stop. After childbirth complications and time away from tennis, most doubted her return. But she didn't just come back, she came back dominant. Why? Because greatness isn't a title. It's a decision made over and over again. And that's what this chapter is about. Your past can be heavy. Your pain might be deep. But neither has the right to write your story without your permission. Let Robbins remind you, pain is a portal. Let Hill remind you, adversity carries seeds of greatness. Let Dispenza show you, you can become someone new. Let Brendan whisper, you already have the light. And if you ever forget what's possible, just remember what Churchill said. Success is going from failure to failure without losing enthusiasm. So if you're down right now, good. You're in position. This is where greatness begins. And the real victory, it starts now. Greatness is not a finish line. It's not a trophy or a title or the applause of strangers. It's a decision. Made daily. Live deeply. Earn quietly. Will Smith once said, greatness is not this elusive feature. It's something that truly exists in all of us. And maybe that's what we've been missing all along. It's not that we're too late. It's that we've been looking away from our own power. Every person we mention in this video, every voice, every story, they all started the same way, unseen, but never insignificant. Eric Thomas wasn't born inspiring. Serena Williams wasn't handed her legacy. Howard Schultz didn't inherit wealth. J.K. Rowling didn't have approval. Bob Proctor didn't start with clarity. Jay Shetty wasn't raised to be heard. Goggins didn't look strong in the mirror. Stallone didn't eat from a silver spoon. Brendan Burchard didn't have the answers after the crash. And even Tony Robbins, yes, the Tony, began from a place of pain, searching for meaning. But they all shared one thing. They chose not to stay small. Napoleon Hill taught us that every human has a seed of greatness. But seeds don't bloom in hiding. They grow in the light of choice, of discipline, of risk, of belief. So if you're still wondering if this journey is for you, yes, it is. Not because the path is easy, but because the fire in your chest still burns. You were born for something more. Not someday. Not maybe. No. You are not meant to live half alive. You are not designed for average. The world doesn't need more silence. It needs your voice, your resilience, your greatness. So if this message stirred something inside you, don't let it fade. Comment, share, subscribe, but more than that, move. Make a decision that you will no longer shrink to fit places you've outgrown. That you will rise, even when it's hard. That your comeback begins today. Thank you for watching until the very end. Gratitude to all the voices whose stories and words have echoed through this journey. From Les Brown to Denzel Washington. From Napoleon Hill to Tony Robbins. From every mind that overcame limitation to every heart that chose purpose. Thank you. You remind us, no one is born small, and greatness is a choice.
Hey, incredible growth seekers. Wow, what a journey. If this video resonated, subscribe now for more life-changing content. Join our community of self-improvers. Smash that like button to fuel more content on mindfulness, goal setting, and emotional intelligence. Share this video to create a ripple of positive change. Comment below about your growth journey. Your insights shape our content. Next week, boosting self-confidence and overcoming limiting beliefs. Don't miss it. Every interaction brings us closer to a world of empowered individuals. Let's make personal development global. Stay inspired, keep growing. Your best self awaits. Let's unlock it together.